Alright, let's talk about something that's both insane and inspiring. A couple from Vancouver Island who just wrapped up an 8-year, 15,000-kilometer trek across Canada. Yeah, you heard that right. 15,000 kilometers. On foot. Personally, I think this is one of those stories that makes you question what's actually possible when you commit to something. I mean, most of us struggle to stick to a gym routine for a month, let alone walk across an entire country over nearly a decade. But here's what makes this really interesting. Simon and Julie didn't do this in one go. They broke it up into stages, which, in my opinion, is a genius move. It's like they hacked the system, turning an impossible feat into something manageable. But let's be real, 8 years is still a massive commitment. What many people don't realize is how much life happens in that time. They started this journey in 2018, and by the time they finished, the world had gone through a pandemic, among other things. So, this wasn't just a physical challenge, it was a test of resilience and adaptability. Now, let's dive into why they even decided to do this. Julie mentioned their experienced long-distance hikers, and the Trans-Canada Trail opening during Canada's 150th anniversary felt like the perfect catalyst. But here's the thing, it's easy to get excited about a big idea, but actually following through? That's where most people drop the ball. Simon admitted they thought it'd take 4 summers, but it ended up being 8. And you know what? That's okay. Life happens, plans change, and sometimes a global pandemic throws a wrench in everything. What this really suggests is that big goals don't have to be linear. They can be messy, unpredictable, and still incredibly meaningful. One thing that immediately stands out is how they approached the journey mentally. Julie said they never focused on the end because it was too far away. They broke it into small bites. This is such a smart strategy, not just for hiking but for life in general. If you're constantly fixated on the finish line, you'll burn out. But when you focus on the next step, the next day, or the next section, it becomes manageable. From my perspective, this is a lesson we could all apply to our own goals, whether it's building a business, writing a book, or just getting through a tough week. Now, let's talk about the highlights they shared. Julie mentioned the kindness of strangers, people offering ice water, showers, even home-cooked meals. This raises a deeper question. How often do we underestimate the impact of small acts of kindness? In a world where we're constantly bombarded with negative news, it's easy to forget that most people are inherently good. Simon's story about waking up to a herd of elk in the Kootenays is another reminder of why they did this. It wasn't just about the trail, it was about the moments of awe and connection to nature. A detail I find fascinating is how these experiences can shift your perspective. When you're walking for hours, days, months, you start to notice things you'd otherwise miss. The way the light hits the trees, the sound of a river, or the silence of an empty trail. It's like Canada revealed itself to them in a way most of us will never experience. But let's not sugarcoat it, the trail wasn't perfect. Julie pointed out that the Trans-Canada Trail is still a work in progress. Some sections are closed, the app isn't always updated, and long stretches of road walking can be grueling. This is where the commentary gets interesting. We often romanticize big adventures, but the reality is always more complex. Simon mentioned how some provinces have incredible infrastructure, while others are still catching up. What this really suggests is that even a country as developed as Canada has its gaps. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just a story about hiking, it's a commentary on infrastructure, community, and the uneven development of public spaces. Now, let's talk about their dynamic as a couple. They've been married for 30 years, and this journey seems to have deepened their connection. Julie's a micromanager, focusing on food and equipment, while Simon's the route planner. What makes this really interesting is how their differences complement each other. In my opinion, this is a masterclass in teamwork. They didn't have to be the same person to succeed. They just had to understand and respect each other's strengths. Simon also shared something beautiful about their moments of silence. Julie used to avoid the question, "What are you thinking about?" but now she answers, "Nothing." And Simon calls that beautiful. What many people don't realize is how rare and precious those moments of emptiness can be. In a world that's constantly demanding our attention, finding peace in silence is a gift. Finally, let's talk about the finish line. Julie's already emotional about it, imagining their friends joining them at mile 0 in Victoria. Personally, I think endings are always bittersweet. On one hand, there's a sense of accomplishment. On the other, there's the question of what's next. Simon said walking across Canada in slow motion made him appreciate the country in a whole new way. This raises a deeper question: how often do we rush through life without truly experiencing it? Their journey wasn't just about the destination, it was about every step, every conversation, every moment of all along the way. So, here's my closing thought. What's your version of the Trans-Canada Trail? What's the big, crazy, seemingly impossible thing you've been putting off? Maybe it's not a hike, but a career change, a relationship, or a personal goal. Whatever it is, remember this: it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be fast, and it definitely doesn't have to be linear. Just take the first step, and then the next one. Who knows? Maybe 8 years from now, you'll be telling your own story,